So the PlayStation 5 event just happened. If I uploaded this on time, which I usually don't do, so I mean, when you're watching this, it might be, I don't know. Maybe you're already playing these games. Maybe the PlayStation 5 has already came out. Maybe you've already got your copy, you've played these games, you beat them. And maybe it's so far in the future that people don't read books anymore. Maybe people don't even play video games. Everybody just walks around reading each other's minds. And they read mine and they saw the guilt from not uploading this video for so many years that I just decided I'm going to upload it now. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to actually upload this video, but PlayStation 5 event happened this August, or no, this September. I don't ever get off topic. I'm David Desero, and today I'm going to be recommending video games for readers based on genre. That's kind of a loaded title for sure. So first, since Halloween is right around the corner, we're going to talk about the horror genre and a game for horror readers. And that is Resident Evil 8. It looks like Resident Evil 8 Coraline, but you know, whatever, that's fine. They keep advertising that there's going to be werewolf zombies in this game. Me personally, I'm a huge fan of werewolves. Anytime you could throw them into a game, especially one of my favorite franchises of all time. If you're a fan of horror, Resident Evil typically has zombies and other weird, strange creations and monsters and jump scares. So if you like horror books and you're looking for a game to play, PlayStation 5 has you covered with Resident Evil 8 Coraline. Personally, I've been playing the Resident Evil games since the first one came out and I was like 7. And I remember me and my cousin, we'd rent the original PlayStation from Blockbuster and then rent the game. But we didn't have a memory card, so we would actually try to play through the whole thing in one sitting without dying. It was so hard. I remember the first time we had it and tried it, we couldn't beat it. And yeah, good times. But I've been playing this game series my entire life. And I'm glad to see they're bringing it back. And Resident Evil 7 kind of went back to the roots to survival horror, because 5 and 6 were a little more action-packed, or more of a just run-and-gun shooter. They were fun couch co-op games for sure, but now they're going back to their horror roots, right? It's always been a survival horror franchise, and that's what originally made so many people fall in love with the series, and they're going back to that. If you're a fan of the horror genre, what do you look for in a horror story, right? You want to be immersed in a world that is unsafe and unsettling, that creates a lot of tension and suspense, and these games do that. If you're reading a book in the horror genre, the atmosphere is so important. And something the Resident Evil franchise does so well is set the mood, right? They usually have a soundtrack that will put you on edge, and then you add to that flesh-eating zombies charging at you, bursting through doors. And this one will feature werewolf zombies. I mean, I feel like that goes without saying. It's gonna put you on edge, right? And you actually have to think fast and react and, shoot, but then also be concerned about how much you're actually shooting, because it is a survival horror, meaning you can't just run and gun through these games. You have to actually use a little bit of strategy and conserve your ammo, and sometimes you just have to run away from things. That should really satisfy any horror reader's thirst for adrenaline, right? If you want something to wake you up, just, oh my god, oh man, I can't believe that happened, and you just want to run through something. And like, if you want something that'll leave you with a creepy feeling, you could play this late at night, throw on some headphones, play it in the dark, and that should give you everything you want. Not to mention the gore. If you like the more gory stuff, there's plenty of bloodshed here. You will shoot stuff, it will bleed. If that's what you're looking for out of a horror story, you'll get that here. And these stories are stories. Look, there's Chris right there. That is the character who's been through since the very first one. And there's a storyline that carries through these games. And what they did with Resident Evil 7 is they shrunk the story, because 6 was this worldwide, massive, huge storyline with all these characters. It was on a worldwide scale. And so it's like, where do you go from there? Do we go interplanetary? Are we going to fight zombies on Mars or something ridiculous? No. They made a very intelligent decision. What they did in Resident Evil 7 was a really intelligent move. They shrunk the story way down. It only takes place in mostly a couple houses, basically one house and then a couple other buildings in some very desolate, lonely swamp area. And there's only a few characters, but there's a good story there. And if you're a reader, obviously you appreciate a good story. So that's what this game has. Having not played it at all, it is Resident Evil 8, but I trust the franchise at this point. It looks like they're sticking with their roots, and they have, a fan favorite character in Chris coming back. And it looks like, okay, they're in a village, they're making it small scale, which is what they do best. The next genre we're going to cover is fantasy, another one of my personal favorites. So if you're a fantasy reader, I'm going to have to recommend Final Fantasy 16. Now, the series has been around for a long time. Yeah, I grew up playing these games, one of my personal favorites being 7 and 10. But okay, what do you want from the fantasy genre? You're looking for escapism, right? You're looking for a sense of wonder, maybe the farm boy turned king, or the hero that secretly happens to be a prince or princess, like in Final Fantasy 12 there was a secret princess, which is a common fantasy trope in books, that, oh man, and this person's actually royalty. Well, this one, Final Fantasy 16, is about, it looks like about a prince who can flame on. I guess he's kind of like the Human Torch. It looks like he gets pissed off, lights on fire, jumps into the sky, starts fighting people. It looks fun. But what Final Fantasy does, again, this is another game series that has always focused on storytelling. That is the bread and butter. Graphics and storytelling is why you get these games. Each Final Fantasy game, the worlds are so fully developed, and they have lore and a sense of just vastness. They feel huge, right? And in most Final Fantasy games, I mean, the world building is fantastic. And you don't get that in every video game, but these games do it so well. It's easy to get lost in these games for tens of hours or hundreds of hours. You can sit in here and level up and grind, or you could just try to rush through it for the story, because again, that is one of the great selling points of this game and of this franchise. Now, obviously this one hasn't came out yet, but honestly it looks promising. It looks like you have all these different nations, and each one has a summon. Summons have been prevalent throughout the Final Fantasy games. Some of the famous ones include Ifrit, Valifor, Odin, Shiva. And it looks like each one will represent a country, and they all kind of fight. The artwork is always top-notch. Although the trailer, a lot of people were saying it doesn't look as clean as Final Fantasy 15 did. And I agree, but it's not a finished product yet. It hasn't came out yet. I'm assuming when it does, it will look beautiful. Okay. So if you want to get lost if you want to escape the hell that is 2020, this right here will be a great option. If you want to take a break from a book and play a game, but still get that fantasy, but still satisfy that fantasy craving, why not go for Final Fantasy? And the third genre I will be covering today is Grimdark. Now, me personally, I'm a fan of Grimdark Fantasy. And so when I look for Grimdark and other things, such as TV and movies and games, and there's one series that is absolutely grimdark, and that is God of War. So the PlayStation 5 event showed us next to nothing, pretty much just showed the symbol. But that's all it needed, because if you've played any of the other God of War games, you pretty much know what you're in for. And so as a Grimdark fan, what do you look for in a Grimdark book, right? You want a morally gray protagonist, preferably somebody who is ruthless and just goes after his goal, and an overall dark tone. And God of War absolutely crushes each one of those. Kratos does not give a fuck. He goes through, he'll kill pretty much anything in his path. The world is in a bad spot. There's a lot of bad people out there, but Kratos is just a little bit worse. And sometimes you need a beast to fight a beast. In every God of War game, Kratos basically goes out and hunts down the gods of that world. In the first series of games, he hunted down the Greek gods until he eventually killed Zeus himself. in this next, I want to say probably trilogy of games, he's fighting and taking down the Norse gods, such as Thor and Odin. So in the first game, he fought many of them. He's going to fight more in this one. And this is another game where story matters. And readers, I think, can appreciate a game like this because each God of War game has a carefully crafted storyline. You will feel something. You'll feel for Kratos. Even though he's done so much wrong, you're still rooting for him and you're still playing as him, which makes it so much easier to be like, yeah, I want to win. And you just go and you push through it. And so I don't need to see gameplay or anything else. I know what to expect when I play a God of War game. And what you will get is basically a Grimdark Fantasy that you can play. It's like if you've read the Broken Empire series, it's like playing as Jorg, right? And you're just going and hacking through people, slashing through the enemies. I mean, it's like reading a Court of Broken Knives, right? And you're Marith, and you're just doing your thing, right? You're just slashing people down, and it's like you, instead of reading about it, you can actually play as it and be that person and ruthlessly take down everything in your way. It is very satisfying. And as you can tell, I'm a big PlayStation fan. So me personally, in the console wars, I'm definitely choosing a PlayStation. That's not to say, I mean, maybe someday I'll get an Xbox also, or just play most of their games on my PC. But yeah, I'm definitely a PlayStation fan. I was super excited to see all the games that they unleashed. Let me know what you thought. Are you a PlayStation fan? Do you like these games? Do you like these genres? Talk to me down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and press the bell if you want to see more content like this. Until next time, later.